Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Scholl. I am the lead learner at the SCEA, Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. You can learn all about C.I.R.C.L.E, that's what we call our center, at cool.us, that's CEWL.us. We just did a huge revamping of that website. We hope that it's a little more user-friendly, particularly on mobile devices. We've added all the amazing cool content that you've seen come out recently. If you haven't seen it, we've got Cassie Owens Moore doing stuff called Cool Books, talking about banned books. We have Cool Vibes, which is Pete Stone's really interesting sort of takes on educational issues. We've got Cool Views, which is Steve Newsom's blog posts. If you haven't read those, they're absolutely amazing. We had Cool Schools by Nurin Willis, who's talking about intersectionality in education, and a whole host of other things. We've got a new one coming up that's going to launch tomorrow called Cool Bites, and Cool Bites are going to be a whole program on nutritional tips for educators, and we hope that you're going to find all of that really, really informative and helpful, and find the cool content that works for you, and share it, please. When you see this content, one of the best things that you can do for us is to like it, comment on it, give those folks feedback, because they're working really, really hard on this content, and they're creating some amazing content, and they deserve thanks and recognition for what they're doing. So the best way you can do that is like, comment, and then, of course, share that content on your social networks. We really would appreciate it. Help changing the narrative around public education in South Carolina. I'm really, really proud to be a member of the SCEA. We are the only movement for educators in South Carolina taking on really, really important issues. For example, all of the stuff going on with C.I.R.C.E.L.E and the State Department. We are taking on issues like banned books and social justice issues and LGBTQ advocacy. Those are things that really haven't been tackled a whole lot before. And we are proud at the SCEA to be leading the movement to protect freedom, to protect our classroom teachers and education staff in public schools across South Carolina. So if you'd like to be a part of that movement, look down at the bottom of the screen. You can join the movement anytime at jointhescea.org, or you can text the word join to 48744. If you're not ready to join, but you'd just like to connect with us and have someone from our team reach out to you, just go to thescea.org/YRO. Welcome to the program, Veronica. Hopefully this won't happen again. But tell folks a little bit about yourself. I didn't want to read you have an extensive bio because you've been in this education game for a long time, but I wanted you to share the points that you feel like our audience needs to know about you.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you for having me. I just recently retired for the third time, I believe, after 50 years in education. 50 years, that's right. It's hard for me to think of that. But they've been very exciting years. I'm still passionate about education and what we could do to help children and communities. So, originally from South Carolina, born in Jasper County on a farm, family migrated to Brooklyn, New York in 1963 during the Great Migration, and went to high school, college at Delphi University. Got my teaching degree, started working at Freeport, New York. So after 4 years, I decided to move back home to South Carolina with my husband and having children. So South Carolina was about 30 years behind the times when I moved back. So I moved to Savannah, Georgia, worked there for a while, and then we went to Barbuda, which is in the West Indies, worked there for a year, and then I moved back to South Carolina. So from there, I've worked with every level of education, from owning a daycare center to elementary, middle, high, and college. When I went back to South Carolina, I got involved with community issues and started a youth program called STAR, Serious Teens and Adults Acting Responsibly. Got a grant from Save the Children and got to go to work at Clemson University in South Carolina State, where I was not just working with the community, but also teaching classes. And then that grant ran out, and I went back to work with the public schools in Richland County. And so started a charter school, worked for a charter school. So I can pretty much say I've done everything in education there is to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Want to give a shout out to all the folks watching in Jasper. I don't know if you've heard about our Cool Induction Institute, but Jasper is one of the counties that Dr. Marcella Weinsteiner is going to be working with their induction teachers down there. So I want to give a shout out to Jasper and Dr. Rochelle Anderson and all the folks, fine folks down there in Jasper.
Wonderful. I would really like to know how I could help with that. That's my home.
All right. I'll let you know, like when we get after the tonight's show, I'll email you and copy Dr. Weinsteiner on that.
Okay.
So C.I.R.C.L.E teaching.
Yes.
That's a long acronym. What does C.I.R.C.L.E stand for? And tell folks a little bit about what C.I.R.C.L.E teaching is all about.
Okay, C.I.R.C.L E teaching. I love acronyms, I have to say, because it sort of summarizes a message. And I've always been enamored with circles because it's complete. What goes around comes around. That's always been my mantra, reciprocity. What you put out there, you get back. You put out positivity and optimism, kindness, you're going to get it back. If you put out there stress and trauma and anger and pain, you're going to get it back. So C.I.R.C.L stands for Cultivating Interpersonal Relationships in Classrooms and Communities for Learners and Educators. So I tried to cover it all. As I said, I've worked in schools and communities with the extension program, and I absolutely know that you have to have an informed community to make a better school, a better school district. You cannot have one without the other. So reflecting on my 50 years, I realized that it doesn't matter how much money you pay for a program, a textbook, a service, a process, whatever, which really bugs me about how much money districts pay for stuff that gets thrown out after about 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But anyway, it all starts with the person in front of the students, which is a teacher. That teacher has to have gone through a self-development process to be confident, to have high self-esteem, to have gone through a mindfulness process, which I know, this is where we connect, mindfulness.
Absolutely.
I definitely believe there's no other way around that. It has to be a culture that will engender trust, respect, empathy for the teacher as a human being. I've been in all kinds of situations as an administrator, classroom teacher, literacy coach, and nothing compares to feeling good about myself, because that's the only way you can survive struggles and trauma. So cultivating, if you think of farming, okay, I started a spring garden this year. Before I could put a seed in the ground, I had to dig it up. I had to plow it. I had to prepare the ground before you can put the seed in. And then once the seed begins to grow, you've got to tend it. You have to nurture it. So cultivating is preparing and nurturing. Interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills cannot be effective without intrapersonal skills. Intrapersonal skill, talking about the self. You have to have done some work with yourself. I don't know how much colleges and schools of education focus on that for the young people coming out of school, especially everybody in every field. And whatever I'm saying for education really applies to all occupations, anything that has to do with other people. So intrapersonal has to do with mindfulness, knowing how to regulate your emotions, knowing how to feel good about yourself, how to problem solve, how to put things in, how to prioritize. Because we have too many people, educators specifically, dropping out because of trauma and stress. Administrators, if there's any administrators listening, it applies to them as well. If you're not self-regulated, if you go off the handle when something doesn't work, have you really gotten in touch with who you are? Um, Mindfulness, so simple, right? Todd, I know you agree.
Absolutely. No, and I think that you're spot on. I think that schools have to create the conditions that educators can explore all of that. Right now, I think a lot of educators feel so overwhelmed with everything else that they're not really treated as human beings. They're just treated as sort of these cogs in this machine to yield better test scores. And it doesn't matter what their human needs are. They're almost told that you have to table those and put those aside. And it's like you can't, like you bring your humanity into the building with you every day. And yes, you need to be able to set aside some personal things to focus on the work, but to act like those things aren't going to impact the human beings in the building is really inhumane and counterproductive ultimately, because if we can help create conditions where teachers heal, then teachers can create the kind of conditions where our students can heal as well and feel valued and loved.
Correct. I totally agree. This is where we connect because um, there is just so much that's expected of educators, and but you have to bring yourself into the picture. I like what Taylor Swift says in her new song, "The Anti-Hero." She said, "It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. Start with yourself." Beyonce, you does it break my soul? It says, "Release the stress, release the fears." I'm so happy to hear more and more public work around this issue. The world is in crisis, and educators have a big part in helping to relieve that. So, circle teaching is about connecting with your humanity, connecting with those around you. My degree has been, or my degrees are in elementary ed, special education, administration, and I loved special education. I did it for so many years, but then I had to get out because I'd be burnout. Then I go back to it because the children with exceptional needs are like bellwethers to what happens with everyone else. We have to be more specific, more intense about working with our children and helping educators understand children with exceptional needs. And then you become a better teacher. I believe I was a better teacher because I have a degree in special ed, children with disabilities. Because I can individualize. I can look at a child and understand what might be going on in their brain and empathize to personalize. There's a lot of talk. You got to individualize. You got to individualize. Well, teachers are not really given that kind of time to do that.
That's right.
And that's stressful.
And it's not only that, it's not only not given the time, but then the metric is standardized, right? So we're told to individualize, but the metric that you're judging me by is standardized. So and there is no standard child. Like you said, every child's a miracle, a gift, and has individual strengths and weaknesses. And the idea that we're going to measure the success of everything that happens in the school by a standardized test when you're telling me they're individuals and then individualize is really just insane.
Yes, it's crazy. However, we can navigate that with prioritizing. And that's a part of the 5 management tools from C.I.R.C.L.E for social emotional learning. When that became a thing, social emotional learning, I was so happy. But now there's a pushback against that. But I really encourage educators and anyone who works with adults and children to consider that you have to start with the person, the people, and understand that children are our adults. They will become adults faster than you think. I have 4 children who are grown people. They're not children, they're grown people, and grandchildren. And with my sons, well, 1 daughter, 3 sons, when they were having their children and they started treating the baby, oh, that's my baby, that's my baby, 2, 3, 4 years old, that's my baby. I said, please stop calling them your baby. They are children and they will be teenagers that you will hate faster than you could believe. Am I right? You've got teenagers, I know. You got young people.
Yes, I've got a 13-year-old at home.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you do love them. You do want them to become the best that they can be. But it starts when they're babies. It starts how you treat them so that as they grow older, they'll have values and they'll grow up with guidelines. So no matter how much they don't do what you say, they will remember eventually. They'll come back. Anyway,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, so like you'd mentioned like the pushback on this SEL stuff, and it's so strange to me as a young, as a child. I remember watching Mr. Rogers, who was basically doing all this SEL work really back in the day with his puppets and on on his program on PBS. And it's so strange to me that there's any pushback against that at all. Like, this seems like that would just be something. Why would we not want to improve the social and emotional lives of the human beings coming to our building? It's like they say, well, get back to the basics. And I'm like, isn't like learning to love other people and care for yourself and, like you said, love yourself, isn't that shouldn't that be a basic? I mean, along with addition and reading. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get the pushback. I don't understand it at all.
Those are the foundations. Those are the basics. Even looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
If you don't have love and security and trust, a safe place, food. What about feeding children? I've seen districts spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a program, a box of books, and say we can't feed lunch to children.
Right.
We can't afford lunch. What do these are things that frustrate me to no level, that we're not, we have left out the humanity in education. I was talking to the renowned photographer Cecil Williams, who has the Civil Rights Museum in Orangeburg. He said, it is so sad that there's so much emphasis on STEM and STEAM, and you're not pushing the humanities.
Right.
We'll have a generation of adults who, they may be making higher salaries with computer technology, but can they relate to other people? And we're seeing that.
Are they happy? Are they well adjusted? I mean, it's fantastic that, we have all of these amazing technological developments, but like you said, I mean, if you're doing that in a context where you're creating stuff that actually is just amplifying mental health disorders, like, if we look at like social media usage and young people's mental health, there's a strong correlation between the more they use it, the worse they're feeling. So it's like, just because we're advancing in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics doesn't mean that we're progressing as a species. I mean, like, becoming more loving and caring and kind towards each other. So,
and the evidence proves we are not.
Right.
This whole anger and bitterness about banning books and erasing African American history. How can that add up to a more informed society? It seems like we're going backwards
Yes.
quicker, but it's going to take all of us who know better. As Maya Angelou says, when you know better, do better.
Right.
There's no going backwards. You have the internet. You have all the knowledge at your fingertips, on your phone, on your computer. Children, young people especially, cannot be fooled. They cannot be cut out of the conversation. So, circle teaching says go back to the basics. What really matters is human beings caring about each other. But before you can do that, you have to care about yourself.
That's right.
The greatest love of all is learning to love yourself.
Yes.
I would play the music if I had it.
So Yelena, I know you remember Yelena from the retreat.
Yes.
She's watching, and she asked if you could speak more about how your model supports SEL in the classroom. How does it support that?
Thank you. Hi, Yelena. So happy to see you. I really enjoyed the retreat. And so for those of you out there, educators, look for Todd's next retreat. I don't know if you have it planned already, Todd. But
soon.
Okay, but getting back to the question, circle teaching is just a process that helps the educator remember to take care of themselves so they can take care of others. I have some steps outlined, and it will be on my website, circleofrest.org. Circle of Rest is the program that I've been doing with the support of many others. I have a group of retired educators and active educators, as well as the SCEA. And now we have the support of Lauren Perry Palmer, who's the owner of Palmer Chapel, my first corporate sponsor. So she sees the need to address the mental health issues of educators. I have support from lots of other people in the community. Columbia International University, we had our last program there. I've been doing it once a year, but now we're going to be able to do it more often with the support of Lauren Palmer. And as a matter of fact, we're going to have an event October 27th. But please go to the website or my Facebook page, Circle of Rest. Join the Facebook page so you can keep up with the events. So mindfulness is where it starts. If you do nothing but breathe, like my friend Dorothy Stewart reminds me all the time, breathe, smell the roses, blow out the candle. Smell the roses, blow out the candle. Every day when you go to school or any other job that causes you stress or tension, smell the roses, blow out the candles. Do that as often as you need to calm your heart, calm your nerves, and put things in perspective. People who hurt other people are hurt people.
Yeah.
And it becomes, I've been talking to some educators recently that were stressed out because of what administration is doing. And they want to quit and walk away. You cannot expect human beings to deliver their best work under stress.
Right. Right. And I think this is one of the things I've noticed, Veronica, in over the past few years in the work with mindfulness and SEL and self-care and rest. I mean, one of the I was reading the book Rest is Resistance, which I think is a really interesting book. And it talks a lot about how rest is like revolutionary in society now. Like rest is actually a revolutionary act if we think about it, because society is constantly telling us to be on our grind, to constantly push, to constantly look at the next level. I mean, we look at what we do to kids. I think like when I was a kid and I played baseball, it was like for a season in a rec department. Now we tell kids, if you're going to make it, you've got to play travel ball. You got to play year round. You got to be at it for multiple hours a day. We're going to set up academies, these charter schools and academies where you're going to spend half your day every day just focusing on that sport. And it's like we've become this achievement, like striving kind of culture where the idea of rest is like looked at like, what do you, how can you just rest? What, you've got things to do, like how you're not going to make the most of your life if you rest. And I feel like we as educators have to figure out how to come together to insist upon a culture that moves away from this bell to bell, highly driven, like super focused on goals that are really kind of arbitrary and not even bringing the child in to establish the goals. We're just saying there's these arbitrary goals we're putting on schools, and we're going to drive the system and everybody in it to maximize it every single year. And things like rest and mindfulness and taking care of ourselves and eating really well, those things kind of get pushed to the side because they're not convenient, because they don't necessarily have these direct impacts that they see on test scores. And I think until we do something about that collectively, I think the work that we're doing is important. We need to keep doing it. But that's why, like, it was so important for me when we established this center, that we talked about how to advocate for a system that allows for the kind of stuff that you're talking about tonight.
Yes, I'm very impressed with what you're doing and what the SCEA is doing, because it is important to get back to those things. I've been on the wheel, trying to multitask, staying up late, doing stuff, doing lesson plans that you never really implement. So everyone needs to just take a pause, take a chill pill, and just think about what you're doing. For example, something very concrete for teachers right now in the classroom. Have you planned your whole year out? You know what the standards are. You know where you want the children to go. Try to make a plan, even if it's a shell of a plan for a year, a month. Plan ahead, then you won't be so stressed every Sunday night. I still hear educators staying up all night doing lesson plans, or they spend their whole weekend pulling together stuff.
Yeah.
And for what? You're killing yourself. You're taking time away from your family. A teacher called me the other day who's still working, and she said, I've got to get my lesson plans together. I said, you know what? Stop. Go to the park, go to the festival, enjoy your life, and then you'll be much better able to do the work.
And that's what really the unions, the people have vilified unions, but the union was really about 8 hours, to work, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for yourself, right? So the idea, like, work is a third of your life,
Yes.
and it shouldn't be 2/3 of your life. You should have that time for rest and that time for the other things in your life that are important to you, your family, your hobbies, your exercise, the things in life that you just enjoy, gardening, whatever it is. And I think educators too often give away that, from that third of rest, or from that third of like our own personal time, to give to the profession, because they're told, well, that's what the kids need or whatever. And it's like they're gaslit into believing they have to keep exchanging that time. And it's like, we really need to define, look, I'm going to go in and do my 8 hours, and I'm going to do those really well. And I'm going to kick butt today.
Yes.
But outside of that, it's my time. And we're not going to keep, I hear more and more of these administrators creeping into that time, asking teachers to do things after school. And it's like, no, set the boundary. We have to set the boundary together too.
Set boundaries. And you can only do that if you feel good about yourself. If you feel strong as a person, protect yourself, protect who you are. And administrators need this lesson as well, because the district imposes stuff on principals, and principals pass it on. So learning how to stand up for yourself, to speak your truth. And if everybody does it, I know it's difficult. I know it's hard. I've been there, certainly. So, but it starts with the individual. And getting back to special ed, I just want to say that I felt like I've been successful, and people have told me with my children, I said, my job is to educate the children out of special ed, work myself out of a job. That's what I've always tried to do. And it was no special program. It was no specific textbook that taught me this. One-on-one with every child. I said, FaceTime. Let me spend 5 minutes every day with each child, look them in the face, talk to that child.
Yeah.
They will do anything for you. Once they realize that you love them, you don't have to say, I love you, I love you. You don't have to do that. Just your presence, just your respect,
Yeah.
and respect yourself as an individual. If you dress well, and this is no commentary on nobody, but remember, children are watching you. They watch you when you think they're not, and they model you. When I was working in the classroom, I tried to make sure my nails were done, that my hair was done, my clothes were appropriate, because there are children who are going to imitate me.
Right.
And they may not remember anything I taught them that day, but they'll remember what I wore. Or they remember was my nails done, or what kind of jewelry I had on.
Yeah.
I know this.
I found that, just curiosity, when I was dealing with students was so important, like wanting to know, what do you listen to? What kind of music do you listen to? What kind of movies do you like? What kind of books are you reading? What are you into? Like, uh, tell me about you. Like, I want to know more about you. I'm curious. And then for me also, like, bringing laughter and humor into the classroom was so huge, because I think when you can laugh, then you feel safe. People
Yes.
don't laugh when they don't feel safe. If you can bring that laughter into that to the classroom, and fun, we've talked to Jed Derryberry about the playful classroom, being playful,
Yes.
being work oriented, getting that work done, but also having that balance of play and that balance of, like, let's have some fun while we're doing this work, and we can make the work fun. We can play some music, we can dance, there's a lot of things we could do to celebrate just the fact that we're alive and we're learning and we're curious together. And I really encourage educators to figure out how to bring all of that. And it's tough. It's like, it takes experience and time to figure all that out. But I think being curious and bringing that heart of love and fun and playfulness is important.
It is. It is. And it's not taking yourself so seriously
Yeah.
that you can't let your hair down. You can't relax with the children. And relaxing with them means you honor them, you respect them. My specialty is working with children who have been traumatized, because my first job was to help them feel comfortable. I'm not going to force work on them. That's another thing. I hate for teachers to say, this is my work and you better get my work. It should never be that.
Right.
The work is for the child to do. If the teacher's doing all the work, then something's wrong with that.
Yeah.
So circle teaching means let's get back to the basics. Let's think about who we are as individual human beings and try to connect with the people we work with. And as I said earlier, not just in the classroom, but in the whole school building, in any setting that you work with people, is connections.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you talk about just starting with yourself too, because looking at the person in the mirror, that's really where classroom culture and climate starts, is yourself. And if you're not healed, it's really hard to change classroom culture until you've done that, a deep examination of yourself, and heal yourself, whether that's through therapy or whatever it is that's supportive for you, mindfulness practice, yoga, exercise, eating right, all those things, taking care of yourself and really examining what's going on inside you, because that energy that you bring into the classroom is what creates that culture, and it has such a profound impact on how the day is going to go.
Definitely. And it means taking time to organize yourself. I'm sorry, I could talk about this forever. So you're going to have to have me again, Todd, because there's more to talk about.
Well, before we close out, is there anything else that you wanted to promote? Any kind of events that you have coming up that you want to promote? Because we have several people watching. So, and by the way, we had Tammy, Keneal, Michael, Yelena, Dolores, Susie, Ilani, I think that's how it, Paula, Terry. We had lots of people, and I don't know if you've read all of the amazing comments, but so many people were so complimentary of you, Paula Summerlin and Ilani Frazier.
Okay. Hey, Paula. Paula's in Savannah, Georgia.
And Dolores Bellinger.
Yes, Dr. Bellinger. Hey, good friend. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else what do you want to plug before? What do you have coming up that people need to know about?
Well, once again, October 27th is our Circle of Rest. And that is REST, again, stands for Restorative and Energizing Support for Teachers and Other Educators. Because I emphasize, even though I keep saying teachers, that could be anyone from daycare to college level to community to Sunday school teacher, anybody who works with kids, bus drivers, the cafeteria workers. Right. That's one thing I want everyone to understand. They are important also. Everyone in a school, the secretary, the receptionist, everyone needs to be on the same page, and I don't ever see that. So for educators and who aspire to be administrators, please, you have to understand everybody in the school is important. The janitor, they're all important. So just start with yourself. Like Michael Jackson said, if you want to make a change in this world, look at yourself in the mirror. Yeah. And remember that the greatest love of all is loving yourself. Yeah. So if you could just take a breath and think about that every day, that'll be a start. But anyway, October 27th, Circle of Rest. Please join the Facebook page if you haven't, circleofrest.org, and I'll be posting upcoming information there. Great.
And I'll make sure we promote it too. So, Veronica, as always, it's always great to talk with you. I love just listening to you, and you have so much to share that I think is important for people to hear. And I appreciate you taking the time tonight to share with our audience. And I'll be more than happy to support everything you have going on moving forward. I appreciate you and your spirit and your kindness, and you just have an amazing way about you, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you also.
All right. That's Veronica Primus. I want to, before we sign off, I just wanted to show you really quickly the cool website, because we have made a few changes. So this is the cool website. If you go to cool.us, that's CEWL.us, at the top, you're going to see just about who we are, what our mission is. Then there's this form here. If you'd like to request free professional learning for your school or your district, all you have to do is fill out this simple form, submit it, and I will be in touch with you within 2 to 3 business days usually. And then as you scroll down, you're going to see all the amazing content and what we did tonight with Veronica. This will eventually be on the homepage probably within the next few days. You'll see all of this amazing content, cool schools with Nurin Willis, our wellness stuff, our learning stuff, cool conversations, our panel discussions. This is Cool Views, our blog. Steve Newsom has done some amazing work here that you need to read. Cool Beans, which is our induction teacher podcast with Angelica McDonald and Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder. Cool Books with Cassie Owens-Moore. Cool Vibes with Pete Stone. Cool Stories with Mindy Penn. If you haven't checked that out, really interesting. She tells stories from her classroom experiences. And then tomorrow night, we'll be introducing this, which is Cool Bites, which is our new show about nutritional wellness from a registered dietitian. So really excited about all of this content, and hope that you will do us a favor and like it, comment on it, share it. When you see this stuff, it's really, really important. One of the best ways you can support our work at Cool is to share this stuff with your social network. So we really, really would appreciate it. And Keneal, watching tonight, wanted to mention, of course, as always, we would love to have you in our movement. If you're not already a part of the South Carolina Education Association, the only union for public school educators in South Carolina, you need to join us today. You can go to jointhescea.org and sign up and be a part of this movement where we are trying to create the kind of schools that Veronica was talking about, the kind of schools where we honor the humanity of everybody in the building, everybody, the students, the educators, the support staff, the administration, everybody. We want to support the inner and outer lives of everybody in those buildings. And we've got to get away from this test and punish culture into a culture that honors the humanity, the full spectrum of what it is to be human. We've got to build a system that honors that. And that's really our movement is about that, is about creating the kind of schools that our educators deserve and their students deserve. And so we hope that you'll become a part of that. We can do that. That vision can come to life, but it can't come to life unless we all get together and act collectively, act together, unified under unity. This country is, we're supposed to have a more perfect a union, and we want you to be a part of our union at the SCEA. So if you're interested, join right now at jointhescea.org. Thank you for everybody who tuned in tonight. I want to thank Pam and Keneal and Yelena and Tammy and Michael and Dolores and Susie and Ilani, Paula, Terry, everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back on Thursday. We're going to have a really important conversation. And this conversation is called In Defense of Books. And actually, it's not, it shouldn't be Michelle under there. It's actually someone named Ashley Freely. I'm sorry, I didn't update this graphic. But Cassie Owens Moore is going to be there. And we are going to have a conversation Thursday night at 7 o'clock. I hope that you'll join us because there's so much that we need to talk about when it comes to South Carolina school librarians and the freedom to read. And we're going to let the school librarians tell their story and talk about what it is that they have to say about recent events. So we hope that you'll tune in and comment on that and show support and love, because we stand at the SCEA with our school librarians. We love them and care for them and want to stand side by side with them through this, all of the stuff that's going on. So again, thanks so much to Veronica Primus, and thank you for tuning in. And we will see you Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Take care.